In not much time, I think I picked up a tail. This week, we're going to learn how to build a super classified, top secret, eyes only encryption decryption system so that your secret messages will stay safe from enemy hands. Stay tuned. Hey, and welcome back to the Chromeworks studio in beautiful Ottawa, Canada. I'm Andrew Tomec, your technology teacher, back with another great Scratch lesson for you today. So I don't know about you kids, but when I was your age, I used to love making up codes. I would take letters and scramble them up and try to write secret messages for my friends and challenge them to decode them. And I also did a lot of anagram puzzles and things like that where you had to take a complicated message and find a way to substitute letters and decode them. So it's in that spirit that today I've created a brand new kind of spy-themed Scratch project. What it's going to do is take anything that you type into it and rearrange the letters and reassign letters so that what ends up coming up out is gibberish. But you'll be able to take that gibberish message and send it to your friend, and if they have the right encryption key, they'll be able to decrypt it and read your original message. And so you and your friend could theoretically have one encryption key that you use all the time, and then you can go and send messages back and forth and use Scratch to decode them. So rather than sitting there with a pencil and paper doing all the decoding yourself, you can just get it all to happen automatically. It's quite a fun little project, and I had a lot of fun putting it together. We're going to be using a lot of list variables today, and that's something that I think a lot of new Scratch users really haven't used a lot. So we're going to be delving into the power of list variables as a way to store complex data forms inside of Scratch. So from a computer science perspective, that's what we're doing today. But you kids don't need to look at that. We're just going to have fun. So let's get to it. All right, so I'm looking at my starter file that I've set up for you guys. You should find the address for it inside the file description here. And otherwise, you can also find all the material here, including the PDF file guide and anything else you need to make this project. You can find it on my website at chromeworks.ca/lessons. Okay, so let's have a look at what we've got here. So I've got a bunch of graphics. I have a fun little version of Scratch here that I've done up that, whoops, there we go, where I've put him inside a trench coat and made him look a little bit like a spy. I have a funky little bit of text here. It's actually an image that I imported from a website, and I've used this website with you guys before. I should probably show it to you while I'm at it here. It is called Font Meme, and it's really great. I use it to make these Scratch fonts that I can use for headlines, but there's all kinds of other really cool fonts here. And so you can just pick any font or effect that you want, and then enter the text in, and that will and it'll output basically an image file that you can import into Scratch. Scratch doesn't have very many fonts available, unfortunately, and so when you want something super fancy like this spy font here, it's much better to do it using an image editor program like Photoshop, or the easier way is just to use a website like Font Meme here that I think is quite useful for this purpose. I've also used a website called freesound.org, which I use quite often here to get my initial music here. So I've got a little spy theme here that I've downloaded. Let's play it for you. Has kind of a James Bond kind of vibe to it, don't you think? So that's the other resource that I've gotten from outside, and everything else is basically items that I've grabbed from Scratch. So I have this little eye icon here as well that that has two different variants to it. So you can basically, we're going to be using it to flip on and off visibility on one of the charts that we're going to be showing up here. So that's another little bit that we're adding to this. Okay, so let's get moving on the coding. The vast majority of the code is going to be done inside our spy sprite here. There's some buttons that are going to activate stuff inside the sprite, but most of the action is going to happen here inside our spy character. So I'm going to go to my variables here, and let's make, I've already made some lists here, actually, sorry. So they should be available in your starter file. But if you're starting this file literally from scratch, then you can go ahead and make these 3 lists yourself. So the first list here is called available letters, and you can see that it's a gigantic list of all the letters in the alphabet. Now we're just going to be using capital letters here, so it's not going to be able to distinguish between upper and lowercase. So your unencrypted messages are always going to be in capital letters. So you can see I've got all my letters of the alphabet here, each one in a different row, and I've got numbers here. And then I've got a period, a question mark, and a space at the end, which is all the punctuation I thought you'd need. If you want to add extra punctuation, just anything you want to use in your message has to be in this list. So for example, I can add an exclamation mark here. I can just go plus, and then after my space here, I can add an exclamation mark. And so now I've got 40 items on my list instead of 39, right? So that we're going to be creating this list here and a second list called scrambled letters here. So what's going to happen first of all is we're going to reassign all of these letters to a random letter. So what we're going to do is take this letter A here and make it a different letter, maybe a J, so that every time an A comes up inside your code or inside your text, it's going to replace it with a letter J and do that quite consistently here. And so I want this all to happen randomly, so it happens differently each time. So we're going to use this list to generate this list. What we're going to do is, first of all, we'll create this list, and then we're going to basically pick a random letter from this list, let's say J, and we're going to assign it to the first spot. In order to do this, though, we're going to have to delete that off of the list here, and so that the next time it picks a random one, it doesn't pick J all over again. So we're going to make this list shorter and shorter and shorter and keep assigning the letters back to it. And then at the end, we're just going to reformat this list and bring it back to its original location again. So that's kind of how that works. You'll see it working in a couple of minutes, and it'll make a little more sense to you then. So we're going to use a bunch of functions to do this. I've got this program all set up with different custom blocks here that do all of the heavy lifting. So let's start off with a custom block that says reset letter list. I'm going to make that right now. Reset letter list. And all that's going to do is create a list here of available letters. And as I said, we're going to be deleting stuff from here so that after we're done, we're going to want to regenerate this list the way it was originally set up. So in here, now all through this program, we're going to be keeping count of how many times we do things. So we're going to create a variable here. It's probably already created here called count. Yeah, there it is. So at the beginning, we're going to set our count to 0. You're going to see me do this over and over again through this project here. So I'm setting my count to 0. Now, I'm going to want to populate this list, as I said, with all these different letters and characters that I'm going to need for my messages. So when it's empty, as we delete everything, we want to refill it again at this point. So I'm just going to go set a variable called all the letters, and I'm going to set it to what I want it to look like. So I just want to enter all the letters I'm going to use here. Let's blast through this quickly. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. And then I'm going to do my numbers, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I'm also going to do my punctuation, which again is period, comma, exclamation mark, and space. Now that's not the way the same order I did before, but we're going to delete this list and reformat it here. So whatever letters and characters you want to have available in your list, just fill these into this variable called all the letters. And this is what's going to be used to repopulate this list again when we're done. Okay, So the first thing I want to do, or the next thing I want to do here is let's just delete anything that's there already. So we just want to reset this list so that it contains the proper information here. So I'm going to go to my variables, and down at the bottom is these darker brown commands that have to do with lists. They let you add items to the list. They let you read items from lists. And they just help you keep track of what's happening in your various lists. And we're going to use a bunch of these commands today. So they're different from variables. Remember, variables can only hold one piece of information. A list can hold hundreds of pieces of information. In computer science, we call this an array, basically. So we can control, basically, keep more than one piece of information inside a single variable. Now, this is the simple array. When you get into more complicated computer science, you could have multiple levels of array here, where we've got the first row a little bit like a spreadsheet, where we have a letter A, and maybe we could have a small letter A beside it, and then we could have another piece of text beside that, like a first letter in the alphabet or something along those lines. And so you can do much more complicated stuff with other coding languages, but in Scratch you can only do a one-dimensional array, it's called, like a single variable that has multiple different versions of itself. Okay. So, first thing we want to do, as I said, is delete all the letters on this list already. So I'm going to go to my variables again, and there is an item here called delete all of available letters. And you'll see as soon as I click that, my list will empty itself out again. Okay, so now we want to basically put these letters back in one at a time, and that means going around in a loop. But how many times does the loop go around? Well, we know I think there's 40 letters in this list here right now, but the easier way to do it so that you can make changes to it later and not have to make changes is we'll just tell it to repeat as many times as there are characters in this variable. So let's go ahead and grab a repeat 10 times, and in here I'm going to tell it to repeat the length of the variable, all the letters. So here's my variable called all the letters here. And you can see when I click on it, it tells me the contents of it, all the different letters that are in it. So we want the computer to count the number of letters here. We can do that in our operators. This is where we have our control for our math functions. We've also got some functions down here at the bottom that have to do with text. And again, they do stuff similar to what we're doing down here in our variables for our lists, where you can look at where you can add and subtract from variables instead of adding and subtracting from a list, basically. So there's an item here called length of apple. You can see when I click it, it will tell you the length of the word apple, which is 5 characters. Or I could type cat here, for example, and it would give me an answer of 3. So when I put all the letters into here, it will count all the letters in this alphabet list here, and it'll tell me that I have 39 characters. So what am I missing? I thought I added a 40th character in here. So I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, period, comma, exclamation mark, and space. Okay, I'm sure I'm missing something, but we're not going to worry about it for now. So that's all the letters we have available now. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Yeah, everything's good here. So I'm not quite sure what I missed. I'm sure I'll figure it out at some point. So we're going to repeat that number of times, 39 times. And inside that list, the first thing we're going to do is change our count. So our variable count, we're going to change it by 1. So the first time we go through this list, we're going to be going through it the first time 1, and then it's going to change to 2, 3, and it'll keep count of how many times we're going through this list. That's not to keep this loop running, because the loop already knows to go around 39 times, of course. Okay, so now we want to add to the list of available letters, right? So we want to take these letters one at a time and add them to the list. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is grab the first letter out of that variable, all the letters, right? So how do we find the first letter in it? Well, there is a command here called letter 1 of apple. And when you click on that, you see it returns an A. And if I go 3, it should give me a P. Yeah, there we go. And if I do letter 5, you can see it's giving me an E. So this is checking this variable or this word and trying to see what is in this position here. Now I have to replace this with variables, so I'm going to go in and replace instead of the word apple here, I want to use the variable all the letters. So that information from here is going to get dropped into there. And which letter do I want to look at? Well, first I want to look at letter 1, then letter 2, then letter 3. So I want to use that count variable here. So letter count of all variables. Right now my variable called count is at 1. Well, let's just simulate that. I'm going to say set count to 1. So if the count is 1, this green block here will return the letter A. If I change my count to 10, should give me a J, which is the 10th letter of the alphabet. And you can see how that works, basically. So it's going to go through this whole list. So there we go. We're keeping track of this list. That number is going to keep going up. And now all we want to do is add that to our list. So I'm going to go down to my list commands here, and I'll go add thing to available letters. Well, we don't want to add thing. We want to add a letter to it. So each time this gets clicked, it's going to add 1 to the list. Let me show you that right now. So it's adding a J to the list. That was the last thing. And if I change my count by 1 here, let's do that just to show you guys. Change count by 1. Now it'll give me K. And you can see, oh, I didn't click that properly. Let's try that now. Oh, I clicked it twice there. So K, L. Let's do it one more time. And it should give me an M. There you go. And you can see how I can make this list. Okay, I'm just going to delete all of those letters again. Actually, just go back to our list variables and just do a delete all. All right. So as soon as I drop this in here and then click this object, I'm not going to click the green flag because nothing's attached to the green flag here, but you'll see it'll go through all of this code here and add our letters in the exact right order. So every time we need to do that, every time we need to regenerate this list, we just need to use this command here under my blocks called reset letter list, and that will regenerate our list of letters anytime we need to. So now we can delete from this list and use it to build this scrambled letter list. All right, let's go on to that next. So I'm going to create a new custom block called scramble letters. Scramble letters. There we go. Okay. So what's going to happen with our scrambled letters? Again, we're going to look at this list one item at a time, and we're going to pick a random item from this list and drop it into the first spot. So our A is going to be whatever it is that we pick here from this first character. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing we're going to do when we scramble the letters is delete our old list. If we don't, it'll just pile the new letters on top of the next one, and we'll end up with a list here that has hundreds and hundreds of items on it. So let's go to our variables, and we will go delete all of scrambled letters. There we go. And all right. And again, we want to repeat the length of our list here of our available letters. So what we're doing is we're counting up the number of items on this list. In this case, it's 40 again. How do we get up to 40 when that variable was 39? I'm really confused by that. Anyway, it's counting the way I thought it would. So we have 40 here. All right. So we're going to repeat. Let's go control repeat. And we're going to repeat the length of that list. So let's go to our list variables here, and we'll grab the one that says length. So the length of this available list, what is the length of it right now? If I click on it, it'll tell you 40, right? So repeat 40 times. Huh. So why was it 39 with the other one? Why was the length of all the letters 39? I wish I had an answer for you guys. It doesn't make sense, but 40 is what I was looking for here. Okay. So repeat length of available letters. And now inside here, we are going to basically we're going to pick the first item on the scrambled letter list. So we're going to use a variable here called item number. Oh, actually, sorry, we're gonna pick one of these, so a random number off of this list, and we're going to put it into a variable called item number. So that's going to be the number that we grab off of this list here right now. So let's go set that variable, variables, set item number. I've already created that variable for you in the starter file. Set item number to a random letter from that list. So we're going to pick random. Let's go grab our pick random command here. We're going to pick a random number between 1 and the number on this list. So between 1 and 40. So let's grab length of available letters here under our list variables. So we're going to pick a random number. Let's say we pick a 10, and that's going to get put into this variable item number. From here, we're basically going to say item 10, which is a J, is going to be the same as our letter A. So we're going to put it at the top of the list here so that it's the first item, and that matches up with the letter A here. So from now on, if we went with this random number, then every time there was an A in our code, it would become a J, right? Okay. So now that we've picked a letter, let's put it into our list here on the right here. So we're going to add an item to scrambled letters. Let's go add something to scrambled letters. There we go. Now what are we going to add? We're going to add, we basically want to pick that number from the list. So we've got an item number variable here. Here's our item number. Right now that's 1 because that's the default on the list here. I'm going to change that to something else. So I was talking about a J here. Let's set item number to 10 here. Let's say we did pick a random number of 10 here, and we're just going to work with that example where a J becomes an A, and then it'll make more sense to you guys. Okay, so we want to add something to the scrambled letters list. We can't put item number here because what will happen then is it will add the number 10 to our item list, which is not what we want here, right? We want the letter at number 10 here. So what we need to do, instead of putting item number here, we need to tell it to pick number 10 from the list and tell us what is there under number 10 on the list. So let's go ahead and grab an item here called item 1 of available letters. And then instead of item 1, it's going to be item 10 of available letters. So when I click on this now, you'll see it'll give me a J. So instead of giving me the number 10, it's now giving me the 10th item on this list. So that's what this item of block brings you. So now I've got the proper letter here, J, and I'm going to say add that to my scrambled letters list. We're going to pop that in there. And the last thing we want to do here is as we go around this list, it might pick the letter J again, and we don't want that. So what we have to do is delete that number from our list. So we're going to go delete number out of available numbers. So in this case, if I go delete 1 out of our available letters, it's going to get rid of the letter A. See, it'll delete that. Or I can go delete 8. And it will get rid of the letter I here, as you see. So each time we use a number, we want to delete it from the list. So I'm just going to go delete item number from the list, and that'll delete that number, in this case 10. So when I go delete item number from available letters, right now, item number 10 is L. So if you look carefully at this list here, you'll see that when I click on it, the L will disappear from the list. Okay, our available letters list is totally messed up right now. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and reset the letters, just like that, getting our list back to the ordinary again. And let's tell it to scramble the letters and see what it does. There we go. And you can see it's emptied the letter list out here. We're out of letters now, and here's our new letters here. 8. So the letter A is now a letter A, number 8. The letter 2, the letter B, sorry, is an exclamation point. Letter 4 here is an E, and so on and so on, all through the list. It's so scrambled up, you're just not going to be able to understand this until you decode it using our secret decryption key. Okay, so that part is good. At the very end of doing this, we do want to reset this letters list here, so let's put that custom block down at the bottom here. And if we wanted to, if we didn't like this scramble, we can always click on this again and it will create a brand new list here. There we go. And now we have O at the top instead. And you can see that each time we call this, it randomizes the list and comes up with a new collection of letters for us. And our available letters list is reset, and we are good to go here. All right, so we're already a good ways through this process here. Now we need to start using this information. So the first thing we're going to do is learn how to encrypt our messages. So how to take an existing message that you've typed into the computer and turn it into gibberish for you. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a new custom block here called encrypt message, encrypt message. There we go. And here's our new custom block. So first thing we want to do is ask the question, what's your message, right? So we're going to use our sensing block called ask. Right now it's asking the question, what's your name? And when it's activated, you can see that it pulls up a little request here, and I can type in something like test, for example, and click check mark. I don't know if we've used this too often in our coding projects, but this is the only way to get input from the user and put it into a Scratch project. So a very important block. The answer to that is stored in this light blue variable called answer. When you click on it, you can see it says the word test here. So whenever I enter, when it asks me this, is what's filled into this blue block here. Okay, so what's the actual question we want to ask here? Which it is, what message do you wish to, well, I'm doing this all up in kind of spy language, so you're going to see me saying kind of spy stuff here. So that's why this is going to sound a little weird. So I'm going to ask, what message do you wish me to transmit, sir? What message do you wish me to transmit, comma, sir? There we go. Now it'll ask that question. So that's the question that it'll ask. Who's going to be asking that question? Well, Scratch here is going to be asking the question. Spy Scratch, I like to call him. You can't see him right now because he's hidden behind these lists. Let's make them invisible right now, and you can see that he's asking the question. Perfect. Okay. Now let's go. Again, we're going to be using count here to go all the way through our list. So let's set that count variable back to 0 again. We're going to be storing our encrypted message inside a variable called encrypted message. So let's go set that. We want to blank that out right now. That's not the same as saying 0. What we want to do is click inside here and delete the 0 and leave nothing in it. That's called a null variable. It's different from a 0, right? It means there's nothing in there. And it's very important that that be blank. Otherwise, because we're going to be adding stuff to it. If with a 0 there, then our new variable would say 0 and then the next thing we want to add, and that's not what we want. Okay. So we're going to again be repeating the number of times that we need to. So let's go to our control blocks, grab a repeat 10, and we're going to repeat the length of this answer here. So right now our answer is test. Let's grab a length of command from our green blocks, length of apple. And you can see when I click on that now, it gives me the answer 4, which is the number of letters in test. So let's go ahead and pump that in there. All right. So the first thing we're going to want to do inside this repeat here is change a variable by 1. Let's go change count, or change count by 1. And now we want to start adding, so here's where it gets a little bit complicated. So it's a big, long block of code, and I'm going to do it a little bit at a time. And it's going to make a little more sense to you then. So, the first thing I want to do is look at the first letter inside our answer. So let's go ahead. Our count right now is 0. I'm going to change it to 1 just so that this makes a bit more sense. So let's go, set count. So we're going to be seeing what happens the first time around this list. Our count is 1 right now. So the first time around this loop, what's going to happen? We need to... Okay, so we're going to find letter count of answer. So we're going to grab the green block from our operators that says letter number of something. So we're going to grab that count and put it in there. So letter 1 of our answer, which is under our sensing blocks here again. So letter 1 of answer is T, which is exactly what should be there because it's test, right? So it's going to give us a T. Okay, so now that we've identified the first letter of our answer, then that's a T, what we need to do is figure out where the letter T is on our original list of letters and then compare that to and figure out what the letter is in that same position here. So let me show that list here. There's my available letters list. Let's find the letter T, which is in the number 20 position here. So we want to figure out that letter T is at position 20, and then look at position 20 on this list and see that the letter V. And so we're going to place our letter T with the letter V, and that will be our scrambling process, right? So we've got to take this letter T that we've got here through our coding and filter it twice. First, we're going to find out what position the letter T is on this list, and then see what else is at position 20 on the other list, basically, okay? So let's go back to that. So we're going to start. So we've got two different commands here for looking at items on a list based on their number. The first one is this command here, item number of blank in list, will search a list for a certain thing. For example, if I'm looking at available letters and I put the letter T in there, it'll return a 20 to me. And this other one here will tell me what actually exists under that letter. So if I say item 20 of available letters, that will return me a T. So you want to use one of these for the first process and the other one for the second. So we're going to get a number and then apply that number to the other list. Okay, so I'm going to drop this into here. So now we're going to look and figure out what is the item number of letter T in the available letters list. And that will return a 20 here. Now we want to find out what else. So we're getting a 20 out of this whole big long process. Now I'm going to drop it into here and we're going to find out what item 20 in not available letters is, but in scrambled letters. So I don't know if you guys caught that. I did it without explaining it. So again, I'm going to take this whole block of code that we did that's returning the 20 and drop it in here into this spot here, which is item, not 20, but blank. Item of scrambled letters. So item 20 of scrambled letters, let's click on it just to confirm that it gives us a V. That's perfect. So item 20 of available letters is V, and we've scrambled our first letter here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take so we're only doing this one letter at a time. So now we have to go through our letters one at a time and start adding them to a big variable. Now I have a variable here called encrypted message, and I'm going to set my encrypted message to all of to this stuff. So that will, so let's go set to encrypted message. So what we're going to do is we're going to, if I pop this in here now, it will take that variable encrypted message and make it equal V, right? But what I wanted to do is have it be V the first time and then V plus the next letter. What's the next letter for us here? It's E, right, in test. And that maps out to a space, right? So we want it to say V space right after that. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that variable. We're going to join two things together. We're going to take what was already in the list and add to it what the new item is. So this is going to be a new entry in our encrypted message. We're going to add that to whatever was already there. Now there's nothing there, but we're just going to have it add to something blank. Sorry, that's a little confusing, so let me go through it here. I'm going to grab this green join command from our operators, and that of course takes two blocks and joins them together. So in this case, apple banana becomes apple banana. It's apple space banana, actually, and that becomes apple banana. It puts it all into one thing. So I'm going to drag that into the spot under encrypted message here. So we're setting the variable to include this first letter plus, and we want to add that to the existing encrypted message. So we're going to set encrypted message to encrypted message. So we're going to say the encrypted message will be the encrypted message plus the new letter that we're adding to it. So let's drag all of this stuff over into here. And so it'll be, the first time around, it'll go blank and join it to the letter T or the letter V. And the second time, it's going to join the letter V and add a space to it. Then it's gonna go V space and then grab the next letter, which is an S, which is 19, and 19 maps out to N. So it's gonna be V space N. And it's gonna keep going through this all through the list until we finally reach the length of our answer, and then it'll boot us out of here. So, all right, and that will all be saved in a variable called encrypted message. Let's try running that now and see what it looks like. So I'm going to click on the block, and it's asking me what message do you want to transmit, sir? So let's type test again, because that's what we've been testing with. Test. Now we didn't see the answer because it's all being stored inside this encrypted message. So let's look at the variable. I'm going to click on the little check mark beside it here to make it appear on my screen. And you can see here my encrypted message as predicted is V space N V T-E-S-T. And there's my message. Okay, beautiful. So I have my encrypted message. Now I just need to do some stuff with it to make it useful to you. So let's start. Okay, so at this point we can have our spy character say, I'm going to hide these lists now because we don't really need to be looking at them anymore, and they are clogging up our screen. So I'm going to have our cat character say something here. Let's have him talk for 5 seconds. So this is outside of the loop. We're done here. I'm going to say for 5 seconds, I'm going to say the encrypted message. So I could pop this encrypted message variable into here. Encrypted message. And now when I click in here, I type test, enter, and there we go, V space NV, just like before. So this is gonna keep working with the same set of encryption rule. That's not gonna redo the encryption rules here, no matter how many times we do it, not until we give it a new scramble letters command, which we're not gonna do right now, of course, because we want to keep working with the same encryption scheme. All right, so say the encrypted message is good, but we need to add some context to it. We need to make sure that the person playing this game or looking at this on the other end understands that this is the message. So instead of saying say encrypted message, I'm going to add a join command in here. And under the apple part of the beginning, I'm actually under the banana part of the end, I'm going to add encrypted message. And at the beginning, I'm just going to explain what it is you're looking at here, which is I'm going to say your encrypted message is, and then add a space at the end because we want a space before this happens. And then he's just going to say what that is. So let's go run that code one more time. I'll type in test. And he says your encrypted message is VNV. Beautiful. Now, later on, you're going to want to send that to somebody else and have them decrypt it, right? How are we going to do that? Because the voice balloon has disappeared. It only sticks around for 5 seconds. And the other piece of bad news I have for you is that you can't copy text inside a voice balloon like that. As much as you try, it's not going to let you. So if this is a big, complicated letter, you don't want to have to write it down with a pencil. That's not what computers are all about. So I want something that I can actually copy and put into my computer's memory. There's no command in Scratch to do that, so we're going to have to do it manually. We're going to create a new list here, and I think I already have it down here, called output. It's blank, and we're going to use this as kind of a repository for our encrypted files. It's a place because inside these lists you can actually click inside of them and copy the information that's in them. It's the only place in Scratch where you can actually copy information inside the game window here. So we're going to have one of these output windows appear and then prompt you to copy it and then probably disappear again later. So we're going to make that happen right now. The first thing you want to do is delete So we're going to do some work inside this output list here. I want to just delete everything that's on it right now. I don't want it to grow. I just want it to always have the last thing we were looking at. So I'm going to go delete all of output. And now we want to basically make that encrypted message appear on the list here. So I'm going to go add to a list item, and the list is output. And what do I want to add? Well, I want to add the encrypted message to it, of course. So let's go add variable encrypted message right here. Beautiful. Now, I'm right underneath it. I'm going to add a second item here. This is optional, but I think it's just helpful to explain to the person using your software what to do here when this window appears on the screen. So I'm going to add a little bit of help text down below in the next line below my encrypted message. And that's going to say, select your message and Control-C to copy. So that will add that to that list down below the other one. Beautiful. Now, this output list is not going to be visible right now. So what we want it to do is basically, I'm going to rearrange the order of this a little bit. I'm going to take this say part and move it to after all of this output stuff. So I'm going to have this output list appear here. We're going to show the list. There's actually some commands here that show and hide the list down at the bottom of our list variables. I'm going to show the list output. Let's stop that. Show list output. And then I'm going to say my thing for 5 seconds. I'm going to wait for an extra 5 seconds. Lots of time for people to see the list here. But you might want to get onto something else. So at the end of that, I'm going to hide the list. Now, you're always going to be able to view that list again. That's what this little eyeball tool is for. It's going to make the list visible or invisible for you. So at the end of this, let's go hide. Hide list output. All right, so that's going to make our list disappear off the screen again, as you can see, after about 10 seconds or so. So actually, I'm at a spot here where I probably want to show you how that eyeball works. So let's jump over to the eyeball quickly, and we'll do some coding there so that we can make that list appear and disappear as we need it. So I'm going to click over on the eyeball tool. And let's add a bit of code there. You'll see that my eyeball tool is set up with 2 different sprites, or 2 different costumes. The first one, just an eyeball. The second one, an eyeball with a red. So you can see the obvious symbolism here. You see, now you see me, now you don't. Now you see me, now you don't. Good. All right, let's go code it. When I click green flag, we're going to have this thing disappear, and everything in our game is going to appear. Most of the interface is only going to appear after Scratchcat introduces it. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to make sure our costume is eye off, which is the one where you can't see it. That's apparently the first costume we want to have here. So switch costume to eye off. And we're going to set the ghost effect. So we'll go to our looks, and we're going to make it invisible, not by hiding it. So let's go set ghost effect, not change. Set ghost effect to 100. So that will make it invisible, but it'll make it so that as we change this ghost effect, we don't have to do a show command again. We're just going to have it be visible by having this ghost effect go down to a lower number. So that's only going to happen when I receive a start message. So let's go to our events here. We'll go when I receive start. We're going to do a little loop here. So we'll do a loop that repeats 50 times. And each time we're going to change our ghost effect by -2. Let's go to our looks, change ghost effect by -2. That'll take us from 100 all the way down to 0. 50 times -2 is -100, which will bring us back down to 0 again. Okay. Now that's going to make it visible, but it's not going to make it do anything. So we need to add a when this sprite clicked. Let's go to our events, and we'll have something happen as soon as we click on the mouse. So when we click on the eye with our mouse cursor. when the sprite is clicked. We're going to play a little sound effect here. I have a sound effect in here called wood tap. You can hear what that sounds like. It's a good button pressing sound. Now, we want this to, if we click on it and it's off, we need it to turn on. And if it's on, we need it to turn off. So this is a good use for an if-then statement. We're going to do an if-then statement. And let's say if costume number equals 1, we could say if costume number is equal to I on. But let's just use the number here because it's simpler. So let's go costume number. We'll grab an equal sign, drop it in there, put costume number equals 1. So if we're wearing the first costume and we click on it, we're going to switch it to the opposite costume. So let's go to looks. We'll go switch costume to I off. And that's the button that's going to be hidden. So we're going to need to hide our list when that happens. So let's go to our variables, our list variables. We'll go hide list. And when I click on the other one, we're going to want to show list, and we're going to want to switch the costume to I on. So if it's on, we'll turn it off, and when it's off, we'll turn it on. Okay, so that's working pretty well now. I'm going to show it to you in just a second, but actually we can show it to you now. But I'm showing the wrong list. Look at that. I'm hiding and showing the available letters list. I actually want the output list to be the one that's visible. There we go. And now we're showing and hiding the output list. Beautiful. So the whole part with it, so it won't actually appear here when I click the green flag. It'll just hide and stay that way because I haven't given it a start command. We'll clean all the rest of that stuff up later, but we're good to go for now. All right, so let's go back to our spy again. So we've got the encryption part done now. Now we need to do the opposite part of the process, which is the decrypting. And I'm going to walk you through that. It's very similar to the first one, but we're just going to make a few changes to it. So let's go ahead and create a new custom block called decrypt, which is the opposite of encrypt. Message. There you go. Okay. All right, so what goes inside that decrypt message command? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is we want to input that, that encrypted message into here. So we're going to ask another question. We're going to ask our viewer to type or paste a message to unscramble. Type or paste a message to unscramble. There we go. Now, this should be familiar to you already. We're going to go set count to 0. Again, we're going to go through the whole list one at a time. Now, we're going to unencrypt these letters one at a time. So we have a variable here called unencrypted letter, another one called unencrypted message. So the letters are going to be the individual letters that we're descrambling, and the unencrypted message is going to be the entirety of the message that we're going to build up here, the same way we did for our encrypted letters. Okay, so once again, we're going to do a repeat. Oh, first of all, so let's blank out these variables right now. I'm going to go set variable unencrypted letter, and we're going to do the same thing for unencrypted message. We want these both to be blank, so I'm going to delete them so they don't say 0, but just have a null value. All right, so that part's good. Our variables are all blanked out. Now we can start adding new stuff to our variable. Let's go repeat again. Control repeat. How many times do we want to repeat? Well, the length of our answer again. So let's go to our operators, length of, and then answer is under sensing. All right. First thing we want to do here is change our count by 1, just like we've done everywhere else along this way here. Change count by 1. Now, we want to figure out what our first unencrypted letter is. So let's find a way here using a bunch of commands to isolate what the encrypted letter is here, right? So we're going to start by finding the letter count of the answer. So let's go grab this one here that says letter number 1 of apple. We want count on the left side. And we want answer on the right side. We're going to grab that bubble from our sensing blocks. So what is our count right now? It's probably back at, oh, it's at 4 right now. Let's just leave it at 4. So letter 4 of answer. What is our answer? It's test probably still, right? Yes. So letter 4 of answer is going to be T. And when I click on this, you'll see it gives us back a T. Perfect. So we're going to take that information, and now we want to find out what, we're going to do this backwards. We're going to find out what number is T on our list of scrambled letters. Let's show those lists again. Let's go to our variables, and we'll go show available letters and scrambled letters. So where is letter T on our list of scrambled letters? There it is, number 25. So I'm going to grab item number of the block here. This is item number of thing. I'm going to drop this in here where the thing is, and I'm going to change this to scrambled letters. So what number is letter T on the list of scrambled letters? Number 25. Perfect. Okay. Now we want to find out, we're going to look at the other list and find out what's number 25 on the list of available numbers. So we're going to grab the other item, the one without the number sign, drop all of this in here, and leave that as available letters. And that should give us an answer of Y, right? Y? Okay. Oh, I see. So T, our answer was T, but it should have actually have been that combination of letters that we did before. So this is working properly, but the thing is T isn't a scrambled letter, it's an unscrambled letter. So we're going to get the wrong answer, but basically if our V got turned to a T, this is going to turn it back to a T again. I'm going to run it again with another example in a minute in case this is confusing you, but just rest assured that if this thing gives us a V, then it's working correctly. So let's click on it once. It's giving us, oh, a Y. Sorry, a Y is number 25 on this list. So it is working properly now. So what we want to do in here is set our unencrypted letter. So we're going to set a variable, unencrypted letter, and that's going to be this letter that we've just isolated here, which is the letter on the available letters list that matches up to the number of the encrypted letter. Okay, and now again, we want to add this to a bigger variable, the unencrypted message, that's going to incrementally add it bit by bit by bit. So let's go set unencrypted message. Oh, this variable is wrong. This is supposed to say unencrypted letter. And we're going to have this one say unencrypted message. There we go. And we want it to be just like we did before. That's exactly what we did a few minutes ago. We're going to join our unencrypted message with our unencrypted letter. So we're going to take the existing one and add that letter to it. Then that new bigger message is going to have the next letter added to it, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so we finished rebuilding our letters here. And let's just run it through a quick test. So I'm going to go, let's actually start. As soon as I restart the program, it's going to re-scramble our letters. No, it's not going to re-scramble our letters for us. It's going to stick with the same thing. So let's go encrypt message. And I'm going to type test again, which gives us V space NV. And now I'm going to go in and decrypt the message, decrypt message. And I'll type V, or caps lock, V space. Now, I don't think in practice that the caps really matter here. I think you can put upper or lowercase and they'll both work. So V space NV, and let's run it through this process here. And let's see if it worked properly. Let's look at the unencrypted message, and the answer is test. So it's working beautifully. All right, so everything's going along swimmingly here. And we're just going to do the same thing at the end where the output list appears. Let's hide these variables. We don't need them anymore. So let's delete the old output list. So we're going to delete all of output. Then we're going to add the unencrypted message. To our output. Then we're going to add a little bit of help text below. So we're going to go add to output. And that's going to be the same message. Select your message and Control C to copy. select your message and Control C to, oh, I got my caps lock key on. Select your message and Control C to copy. Okay, good. Now let's show that list. So let's go show list output. We're going to have our guy do the same thing we did before. We're going to have him talk. We're going to have him say something. So let's go to our say command here. Have him talk for 5 seconds. And he's going to say your secret message is, let's grab a join here. Your secret message is space. And then we'll put the unencrypted message down there. And then after he's finished talking, we're going to wait another 5 seconds. And then we're going to hide that list again. And one more time, you can make that list manually visible, so we don't need it up there forever. Hide list, output. Okay, so let's try this again here. Define encrypt message. Let's try something different here. We're going to say, let's type the message. Ooh, we don't have an apostrophe in here, so I can't use contractions. We'll say, I am not a cat. I am secretly a dog. Exclamation point. All right, we'll go enter. There we go. There's my output. It's my hidden message. Oh, and it didn't get that part added to it. Let's see what's up with that. I'm going to click on that, make sure it's all highlighted. Go Control C. Oh, I think my list disappeared. Let's make that eyeball visible again. Oh, it's ghosted. So this is causing problems for us. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to go, when green flag clicked, let's broadcast a start message here. There we go. So that'll make my eyeball appear again. Okay, so let's run that experiment one more time. We'll go encrypt a message. Our buttons aren't working yet, so we're going to have to do that manually. We'll go encrypt message. Say, I am not a cat. I am secretly a dog. Scratch is going to hate that. Hit the caps lock there. Secretly a dog, exclamation point. All right, so let's go check. There's our output. I'll copy it, Control C. It'll disappear after a second here, and we're not worried about that. Now, let's go decrypt our message. Define decrypt message. I'm going to paste my encoded message in here. You can see that it just looks weird. It has the word gum in it, which is always strange. So this, you can see how it would be very, very difficult to descramble this, right? If you knew how the coding algorithm worked, you could use it, but this is going to be quite complicated to do. So, so I'm pretty sure that your friends aren't going to be able to descramble this. Let's click the check mark here and see if this works. So here it is. Your secret message is, I am not a cat. I am secretly a dog. Beautiful. All right, and there's your decoded message that you can copy paste if you want to. It'll stay there basically until you're ready to go. All right, so we are making excellent progress on this game. A couple more things that we want to do. So what happens if you have created a secret message and you want your friend to read it? When they start working on this project here, they are not going to be able to decode it because we've created our decoding system randomly, which means when your friend tries this at home, they're not going to get the same random rearrangement of letters. How do we fix that problem? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to create a string of letters that explains to Scratch how to unencrypt files. It's going to be a recipe for unencrypting files. And as long as both you and your friend both have the same list of letters here, this is an important part. If you've modified this list at all, make sure they're working with a similar version of this. I actually think we need an apostrophe in here because I can't do contractions without it. So after the space here, I'm going to add an apostrophe. And that's going to give us a slightly different list of letters here, and that's going to help us out a lot when I want to do contractions. Okay, so you should probably be able to work with this list here if you're doing this at home, unless you have some really special character that you want to use. I would just suggest you use these. There's not very many characters left on the keyboard. I mean, you could go with like a slash or a greater than or less than sign or something like that. If you want to do that, you can modify the parameters here, but you're going to have to make sure your friend has exactly the same setup as you do, or you're not going to be able to decrypt things. Okay, so now, all right, so what we want to do is export a list of information that basically matches up with this, but says what the A is. So if our A on the list is V or something like that, we wanted to start with V and then just go along the list here and just show how to translate all these letters into our new random algorithm. So that's our next mission here, is we're going to create a new custom block here that's called, I believe it's export encryption key. Yeah, export encryption key. So we're going to go export encryption key. There we go. I'll go OK. All right, and let's blast through this really quickly. This lesson's taken quite a while here. All right, so we just want it to appear on this output list here. So let's start off by blanking out our export list. I'll go to my variables, to our list variables, and delete all of the output. We're going to set our count to 0 again. Now you know why we're doing that. I'm not going to bother explaining that again. Set count to 0. We're going to blank out the encryption key variable in case it has something in it already. So let's go set encryption key to blank. All right. Now we're going to repeat this loop, the length, so repeat, for the number of items in our list of scrambled letters. So let's go repeat. Here's the scrambled letters bubble, and we're going to go length of, repeat length of scrambled letters. Actually, we don't want this length. We want the length that's built into here. So let's go length of scrambled letters. I was doing that wrong, sorry. So length of scrambled letters, the number of items on the list there. And inside there, we're going to change our count by 1. To keep track of where we are. So let's go to our variables, change count by 1, and let's go fill up that encryption key variable. So let's go set encryption key to, and we're going to go through our list, and we're going to add to this encryption key. So let's do a join in here. Join. We don't need this. We're going to join our existing encryption key. So let's go to our variables, encryption key, which is blank right now, and join it with item 1 of scrambled letters, right? So let's go scramble item. We'll go to our items list here. Item 1 of scrambled letters is an L. So that's in place of letter A. So we don't actually want to go to item 1. We want to go to the item that matches our count here. So item count of scrambled letters, and we're going to join that to the encryption key. So it's going to basically output the first letter on our list. Let me show you that list one more time to remind you. Here's our list of scrambled letters. So it's going to go L3Q7 space 4 like that and go through the list. It's going to grab the first item, then come around and do the second item and the third one, and keep putting those into a consistent string here. So watch what happens when I click on define key. We should be able to show that variable now, which is encryption key. Whoa, that is set up wrong. I'm going to go to a normal readout here. Okay, so that did not work the way I expected it to. All right, that was a pretty obvious error there. Instead of setting encrypted message here, we actually want to set the encryption key. So let's make this encryption key. Let's try running this again. We were trying to see what this variable was, and for some reason I was adjusting a different variable. That was not bright of me. Let's click this and see what happens now. And now, in fact, I do have an encryption key, and it reads exactly the way I expected it to. It says I3Q7 space 4U, etc. So all we have to do now is be able to copy paste that. Notice we can't copy paste inside here. I don't think it will let us. All it does is it changes the format around. So what we're going to have to do again is save this to an output window where we can actually copy it. So let's go, now that we've figured out the encryption key, let's add it to our list. So we've already deleted all of the output. We're just going to go back down to our list variables. We're going to go add encryption key to output. We're going to add that little bit of help text again. So let's go back to our list variables, add, and let's type that in. I guess I could copy paste it from somewhere else. Let's do that instead. Copy, paste. There we go. There's our help message. Now we're going to show that list. So show list output. We're going to say something. So let's just tell our viewers. We're going to talk for about 10 seconds here, just so people have lots of time to read it. And we're going to say, this is your encryption key. And we'll keep the spy thing up here. Do not let it fall into enemy hands! Exclamation point. Then after that, we're going to wait 5 more seconds. And then we'll hide our output list here. So let's go back to our list variables and hide our list. Output. Okay, there we go. I'm having this problem again where it's asking me to keep saving over and over again. This seems to happen late in the day when lots of school kids start logging into Scratch and the server gets a little buggered up. I'm not going to worry about that right now because I think my file is working, saving fine here. Or it'll probably fix itself a little later. If you do have this problem and just cannot save your file and you're afraid of losing it, what I would suggest is you go to your file menu, go save to your computer, and you can actually save the file permanently that way, and that gets around this problem with you not being able to save. You can always reload the file again later, but remember that when you load a file from your computer, it'll erase whatever's there and replace it with what you saved. So make sure you don't have anything important on your screen when you go to do that. All right, so we are done with the exporting of the key. Now your friend is going to email that key to you, and you want to import it into your own computer so that you can read the message. So that's the last part here. We're going to import or load an encryption key. So let's create a new custom block to do that. We'll go to our blocks here. Let's go make a block, load encryption, and I put a U in there. E. There we go. And how do we load the encryption key? Well, the first thing we're going to want to do is, so we're looking at we're trying to repopulate that list of scrambled letters, right? We're trying to fill it up with our own list of scrambled letters. So let's just delete everything that's on the list already. So we'll go to our list variables here. We'll go delete all of scrambled letters. Now we're going to ask a question here again. We need some input. So I'm going to ask, we're going to say, paste your encryption key here. All right, then we're going to go set count variables, set count to 0. And again, we're going to go through our list. You're going to see a lot of familiar elements here. We're just kind of doing the same thing, just a little differently. So if length of answer. Oh, okay, I did something a little bit different here. We're going to put an if else here. I haven't done very much error correction here. If you enter the wrong information, you could mess up this program, but I've in this one spot here tried to anticipate what happens if I try to load an encryption key and someone clicks the checkbox without actually entering any information. So I'm just going to check here and see if it's blank, basically. And I'm going to say if the length of the answer that's given is greater than 0, then we're going to go ahead and process it. But otherwise, we're going to give a little error message. So the else here is going to be something like invalid key. So let's go to our sensing blocks, and we'll go say. Sorry, we want to go say for 5 seconds. So under the else here, invalid key, you're an imposter. You're an imposter. Oh, I need a space there. All right. Now, that's just a little fun thing. That's not the main part of the program here. The main part is going to happen if we have any information at all in our answer window. So if I'm going to go greater than, let's find our answer. So if the answer is greater than 0, or if there's anything at all inside the answer, then what are we going to do? Let's get into a little loop here. We'll go control, repeat the length of the answer. So again, we're going to go through here as many times as there are letters in the answer. Let's go to our length of answer. Here's our answer. There we go. Now, inside here, we're going to change our count by 1, so we can go through these letters one at a time. And we're going to... so we're going to start adding all those letters to the list. So let's grab an insert thing at 1 of available letters, and we're going to make that of scrambled letters instead. So we're adding to the list of scrambled letters. At what position? Well, the position is going to be our count here. So let's go back to our variables and grab the count. So the first time it's going to be the first position, and keep going through there. And what do we want to put in here? The letter of the answer that you pasted in there. So let's go letter count of answer. So let's go letter 1 of apple, and we'll change that to say count, and we'll say answer here. So again, this is going to tell us what the letter is at the beginning of our answer. So let's go letter count of answer at count of. So this seems a little confusing, but really all we're doing here is we're inserting into this list of scrambled letters. We're going through the text that we entered, and we're taking this first letter I and putting in the first spot on the list, then 3 on the next spot on the list, then Q, and we're just rebuilding this list of scrambled letters so that it matches what was there before. And that's all there is to it. So now our encryption key already contains the information here. So let's blank it out just so I can test this. Actually, is it still in my buffer here? Let me just try adding a comment here and pasting. No, I have something else in here. So I do need to copy that. Let's go and grab my output. Is it still in my output? No. Okay, so let's export the encryption key one more time. There is my encryption key. I'm going to go Control C. All right, so now I've got my encryption key. Now let's go blank all this stuff out. I'll delete the output. So imagine we're starting with a blank new thing. My encryption key is blank as well. Let's set that to blank. Set encryption key to blank. All right, so here's where we're going to be at the beginning of this process when we're importing the key. So let's go ahead and load an encryption key, paste in our answer, click the check mark. And at the end of this, our list of scrambled letters. So you didn't see that last part there. Let me erase my list, and I'll do it one more time, just so that you could delete all of scrambled letters. There we go. So our list is blank now. Let's load the encryption key, paste, check mark, and you can see our list repopulates itself with exactly the information we wanted. I3Q7 space. Excellent. All right. Things are going very nicely here. So that is almost it. We do want to, at the end of this, we're going to reset our letter list. And I think I did this when I was setting stuff. I think at some point along the process here, you might have deleted your letter list. So I just want to reset it here. And then we'll just go say for 5 more seconds. Say encryption key loaded, sir. Just want to keep up with that military kind of spy talk for 5 seconds. There we go. And we don't need to actually say what the contents of the encryption key are because shh, it's secret. Okay. So we've got all 4 of our functions ready to go now, and everything's working properly. I'm going to do one more run through of it before we're done here. If you guys want to see it one more time, I'm just going to hide all our lists here and hide all our variables to clean everything up. We've got to connect these all to buttons now. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go to the first button, encrypt. And we're going to go when green flag clicked. We're going to set the ghost effect. So we're going to do the same thing we did with the eyeball here. We're going to have it appear suddenly and then disappear. So let's, appear after I click the green flag. It's going to slowly fade in. The whole interface is going to fade in at that point here. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go switch costume, set ghost effect. I got the wrong block here. Set ghost effect to 100. We're going to go to, let's just make sure everything's in the right spot. I'm going to put a go to command in each of these. So 6030 is where I wanted to go to, just in case we accidentally move the button out of the way. That'll bring it back again to its proper position. And let's grab a forever in here. We're just going to toggle back and forth, but we're going to do a little rollover effect. When I move my mouse over here, this is going to change to its secondary costume, which is kind of gray, and that's going to give us a little feedback that we're actually in the right position to push this button. So let's go grab an if-else statement, as we often do with a toggleable button. We can go in 2 different positions. I'm going to say if touching mouse pointer, that's in our sensing blocks. If I'm touching the mouse pointer, we're going to switch to costume 2. Looks, switch costume to costume 2, and otherwise we're going to switch to costume 1. And so let's see what that looks like when I click the green flag. That pops into position, and we can't see it because we haven't got our start yet. Let's actually, okay, we're going to have to finish coding this first, I guess, before this all works. So when I receive start, we're going to repeat 50 times. And we're going to change ghost effect by -2. This is exactly what we did for our eyeball. Change ghost effect by -2. Beautiful. Let's click on that. And now our message has appeared. You can see when I move my mouse over it, which one did we do here? Hold it. Click the green flag. There it goes. It appears. And when I move my mouse over it, it changes. Everything's good. So the only thing we need now is to be able to click this button and have something happen. So let's go when this sprite clicked. We'll go to our events. When this sprite clicked, we'll broadcast a message. So the change has to happen inside the spy. So we're not actually going to have anything happen here. We're just going to broadcast a message. What we actually want to do is make one of these red blocks start working, the custom blocks. And so we have to basically just send a message over saying, start that custom block. You can see our custom blocks belong to the sprite, so it's empty here. So the only way to get that custom block working is to send a message over to it. So let's go broadcast a message, and that message is just going to say encrypt. New message, encrypt. All right. And we'll hook all those buttons up and get them working in just a second here. But I just want to finish the rest of the button because there's a lot of copy paste here, and we might as well just do that. So I'm going to take all three of these big chunks of code and copy them all over to the decrypt. And then copy them all over to So this one's called decrypt 2. It shouldn't. It should say load. And this one here should say export. There we go. And now let's go back here. So this one's good to go. Let's just clean up the blocks to see it. And let's do it again for the load blocks. And we'll do it one last time for the exports. Now just a few minor changes we have to make to each of these. So let's go to our decrypt for starters. And the only thing we have to change here is the new message that's broadcast. Let's go broadcast new message. And the message is actually decrypt. So new message, decrypt. Okay. And let's go over to this next one here, and we'll clean up the blocks. And we'll change the message to load. Whoops. And for the last one, we'll change the message to export. There we go. Let's save our file. All right. So we just have to hook these buttons up now. Let's go to let's go to back to our main sprite here. And we just need to hook these custom blocks up to commands that work with them. So let's go to our events here. We'll go when I receive decrypt, when I receive encrypt, when I receive export, and when I receive load. And we'll hook each one of those up to a custom block. Decrypt goes with decrypt, encrypt, export, and load. And so these buttons should all be working properly right now. Let's go ahead, click the green flag. And there was one other thing I apparently had to change, and I forgot about that. All our buttons are in the same location. I didn't change the location of the buttons. So let's fix that up quickly. So this second button is going at 180.30. The third button is going to 60 minus 30. And the last button is going to 180 minus 30. Okay, let's try that again. Click the green flag, and there we go. Our buttons appear. All right, so we still don't have a green flag here to start our program off. So we've got to enter that stuff before we do anything else here, and that's what will get everything ready to go. In here we have to blank out and reset some of our lists and just do some initialization stuff here that we haven't gotten around to yet. It's weird, normally the green flag is the first thing that I do when I'm starting a project, but because this is so modular, because each piece works on its own, we didn't really need this one coordinating set of blocks yet, but let's do that right now. So when green flag clicked, we're just going to initialize some of our variables here. Let's go set variable. Set encryption key to blank. That's going to reset our old encryption key. We're going to delete all our output, our list of output here. So let's go delete all of output. We're going to delete all. Actually, we're just going to delete our scrambled letters list here as well. All right. We're going to hide that output list in case it's still visible. We're going to play our spy theme. So let's go start sound. It's fantastic little audio that I got from my freesound.org account. And now let's just do a little welcome message here to appear. So let's go to our looks commands and say something for 3 seconds or so. We'll say welcome. Whoops. Welcome, comma, agent. Oh, caps lock again. Bane of my existence. Welcome, agent. And underneath that, we're going to duplicate that and have him say, do you have a mission for me? Question mark. And then as soon as we're done that, we're going to reset our letter list. So let's go to our My Blocks, reset our list just in case our alphabet list is blanked out. And we're going to scramble our letters here. So when you click the green flag from now on, it's going to, every time you do that, it's going to reset your encryption routine. So be careful if you're using this. If you load an encryption key, the next time you click the green flag, it's just going to blank itself out. So you want to basically keep running this all the time and not click the green flag again until you really need to. And remember, you're going to have to repaste your encryption key for that to work. Okay, so after we're done that, we're just going to broadcast our start message, which is going to make everything visible. So let's go broadcast start. There we go. So let's give our game a try again. Click the green flag. There we go. We got our cool music going. Do you have a mission for me? Yes, please encrypt a message for me. So I'll type in something conspiratorial here. I'll say the 9/11 attacks were caused by COVID-19. There we go. That's a nice conspiracy. Click the green flag. There we go. So there's our message. Here's our encoded version of it. So let's go and copy this. Hold it. Do I have it all copied here? Make that visible again. Click once, click twice. So you want to make sure you get all of the text in here. And I hope that's all of it. Let's go back. And let's try decrypting now. So let's go decrypt a message, paste, enter. The 9/11 attacks were caused by Oh, I don't have the whole thing copied. Oh, darn it. All right, so it's really important when you're doing this output part here that you copy the whole thing, right? Yeah, it seems like the first time you click it, it actually automatically selects the whole thing. But if you click it twice and then start clicking it like crazy, it doesn't always select the whole thing. So I'm going to recommend you just click inside the window as soon as it appears, and the first time you click it, it should have the entirety of it in there. Let me just show you again. I've just copied that. Let me just add a comment here, and I'll show you when we paste it in. So yeah, it's actually giving me the same message here. All right, so let's test this one more time just to make sure it's working properly. So let's click the green flag, start it over again. Let's come up with a new fancy new conspiracy to encrypt. And all right, and let's say Donald Trump was behind the Lincoln assassination. There's a great conspiracy theory. There we go. So click inside it once to get our message and copy, of course. And now let's go decrypt the message, paste the message in there, click the green flag. And you can see Donald Trump was behind the Lincoln assassination. Beautiful. All right. We're going to blow the lid off of this conspiracy, guys. All right. So our program's looking really good, and we're pretty much done. There's just a few other little teeny things that I wanted to add just to make it a little fancier. The first little effect I wanted to do was... We're going to make this title here, Scratch Decoder. I actually have two costumes for it. Let me show you. One says Scratch Decoder. The other one says Scratch Coder. And I kind of thought it was funny, coding, Scratch Coder, and then have it go back and forth between Scratch Coder and Scratch Decoder. So I'm just going to do a funky little visual effect. I think you guys are going to like this. That's going to make it go back and forth between those two looks. So it's a very little, just a little bit of code here. I'm going to go when green flag clicked. Forever. We're just going to have it cycle between those two looks. So I'm going to go wait 10 seconds. And then I'm going to repeat something 100 times. And we're going to use a new visual effect. I haven't used it much. It's called pixelate. And what the pixelate command does, let me show you set or change pixelate. Let me give you a quick look at what that looks like. I'm going to go change pixelate by 25, and now watch this Scratch Decoder. As I add this, it becomes more and more pixelated until it gets to the point where it just kind of random blobs. And the more you do that, the more blobby it gets. I'll go clear graphic effects. We'll get everything back to normal. So let's go change pixelate effect by 1 and repeat it 100 times. So let me show you what that looks like. We'll just go repeat. And you can see it kind of seems to dematerialize when you're doing that, and it gets stuck there. And then while we're in the middle of being changed like this, we're going to change our costume over from the one that says decoder to the one that says coder. We'll go next costume, and then we're going to repeat this 100 times again, and we're going to re-res it. We're going to make it visible again by changing the effect by -1, which will take it all the way back down to 0. So let me show you what that looks like. Let's get in here. And so here's what the entire thing looks like. We go de-res it like this. Let me maximize this. And then it comes back again. And now it's a different word. Let's do that one more time. Scratch coder. And when it comes back, it'll say Scratch Decoder. Very cool. It's a really funky kind of effect. I thought it'd work nicely for spies. And so our program's just going to continue running through this over and over again. It's just going to, after the music finishes playing, it's going to just start going through this endless loop of changing every 10 seconds. Basically, there it goes the first time. All right. So that's looking beautiful. One other little thing that I wanted to do, and this is another optional step, while the computer is figuring stuff out, while it's moving from while it's trying to decrypt your files or whatever, I just wanted to add a little bit of an effect here that would make it sound like your computer was actually working on this stuff. I like to do little fun things like that in the code that makes things seem a little more interactive. So we're going to go back to our main sprite here again, and we're going to add a new custom block that's called calculating. Calculating. So let's go make a block. We're going to call it calculating. ... And that, let's just fill that in quickly, and that will actually be the last part of the project here. So let's go define calculating. We're going to play a sound here, so let's go start sound, computer beep. That's just this sound. There we go. And we just want to repeat this a random number of times. We want it to be a little different each time we play it. So let's go control repeat. And we're going to have it repeat from between 5 and 15 times. So it's going to go at least 5 times, but maybe a bit longer. Inside here, we're going to basically make our character say stuff that say a random string of letters. And so I've created a variable here called, strangely enough, a random string of letters. Let's go blank out that variable right now. Set random string of letters. to blank. And then we're going to start generating these lists of 5 random letters at a time. Let's go put inside here, we'll put a repeat block again. Let's go to control, repeat 5 times inside the other repeat loop. So basically we're going to be repeating from 5 to 15 times, and each time we're going to generate a list of 5 random letters. Okay, and let's go set a variable, set random letter to, and we're just going to pick some letters from our list of random letters. So we're going to pick a random number between 1 and the length of our list of letters. So depending on how many letters we have. So let's go length of, where's my length of? Length of from 1 to the length of the scrambled letters list. We could do this with available letters as well. It's a random thing, so it doesn't really matter. I'm going to leave it scrambled for now. And we're going to pick an item. So we're going to go item, and not item 1, but item random from that list of scrambled letters. So we'll change that to scrambled letters. We're going to pop this into, hold it, set random letter. Yeah, we're going to set the random letter to this, and it's just going to basically pick a letter. So let me show you. It's just going to pick a random letter here. So when I click on it, I get a 5, I get a blank, I get an M, R, K, 3. You can see that it's just generating random stuff that it's picking out of that random list. So we're going to put that into a variable called a random letter. And then we're going to add that random letter to a random string of letters, the string just being a collection of letters. So let's go set random string of letters to, and we're going to join the same way we've done with the rest of our join commands here. We're going to use it to join our existing variable, random string of letters, to our random letter, and that's going to generate a list of random words. Okay. Now we just need to have Scratch say that, or Spy Scratch say that. So we're going to go say random string of letters. And then when we're done all of this, when we're done through this loop a bunch of times, we're just going to blank out that say command again by going say blank. So this is the way you get rid of a dialog bubble when you don't have a time limit on it. It's going to stay up there forever unless you tell it to say blank, and that'll blank it out. All right, so we need to actually call this calculating command in a couple of different places to make it work properly. So let's go to our, let's see the first place that we need it here. So under decrypt message, actually under both encrypt and decrypt, we have a new custom block here called calculating. I want this to go off when, after we've answered the question. So just go ask and then calculating. And we'll do the same thing under encrypt message. We'll go calculating after we finish asking the question. And I don't remember if we used it in the export or the import. We probably could though. So let's go the export command here, export encryption key. And when do we want the calculating to go? Let's just put it right here before the say command, calculating. And we'll do the same thing under our load encryption key. We'll just, right after we ask the question, we'll have it calculate. All right, so just added, oh, I put the wrong block in there. Encrypt. I wanted to say calculating there. There we go. All right, so we've got these little calculate messages sprinkled through here, and you can see how they work in the code here when the green flag is clicked. Let's encrypt a message, and let's think of something goofy to say. Let's say, okay, air pollute, no, global warming. Let's go global warming. is caused by my pet rabbit. There we go, pet rabbit. You guys can't read that there, but you can trust me that it's in there. Actually, I can zoom in to show you. So there's my secret conspiracy message. We'll hit enter. And there's my secret code. I'll click in it once. So it appears that when you're in the maxed out mode here, that your output window doesn't show up quite the right way. So it's better to do this in the editor window. Let's go copy. Now let's, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this into a comment block here just to save it. And I want to simulate this loading of an encryption key here. So there's my message. And now I'm also going to export my encryption key now. So let's go export an encryption key. And there we go. There's my output. I'm going to click in once, copy it. And I'll put it into my little comment message here. So there's my encryption key. So now let's stop the program and restart it. And you can see that we have a new encryption key now. Let me just show you what the encryption key is. All right, so it's blank right now. So it won't, we can't export a key because there's not an existing one. Let's just encrypt a blank, bogus message here, just so we can create an encryption key. Now let's go export a key. And you can see that the key is different now. It starts KRZ6 instead of VQ exclamation mark, which is the proper one. So I'm just showing you that we have reset our encryption key. Our computer has no idea what we're saying here. Let me try pasting the message in without the proper key now. So I'll go decrypt a message, paste, enter. And it says my secret message is gibberish. So it did not work because I don't have the proper encryption key. Okay, let's try loading the encryption key now. We'll get the proper encryption key into there. Control C. We'll go load encryption key. I'll paste that information into here, check mark. It should say encryption key loaded. Yep, there we go, loaded, sir. Now I'm going to grab my original message and let's see, drum roll please. Let's see if this actually works. So let's go decrypt a message, paste, enter. And there we go, global warming is caused by my pet rabbit. Congratulations, all right. So that's a good demo of how that works. It actually, for once, actually worked the way I thought it would. So that is how our secret coder encoder did. I would love to have you guys send me some coded messages, if you like, and I will decode them and run them on one of my future live streams. So if someone wants to send Mr. T a coded message, send me the encryption key and your coded message, and I will decode it for you live on next week's Chromework Club. In the meantime, I had a lot of fun putting this together. I hope you had fun building it, and I will see you next week.